Greetings, everybody. This is Padma Khandro, Victoria Sinclair here, giving the non-dual astrology reading for June 2023. If you haven't checked in on this channel before, we have some more transmissions with a brief synopsis of what non-dual astrology is. So I hope you can find that, and I hope you can enjoy and just land in with this transmission, which may be different to transmissions you've had before. I'd just like to situate us all by giving gratitude to the day keepers in the Mayan lands, giving gratitude to Jose Arguelles and his students who brought through the Dreamspell calendar, and giving gratitude to the rishis, the celestial bodies, and Ganesha, the patron deity of Jyotish, the science of light. Om Shrim Ganganapataye Namaha. So I'm going to weave a little bit today just about the eclipse season, which was very strong. And then we'll go more deeply into the reading, because I know that people don't have a great attention span these days. So sometimes I'll share a little bit of holistic wisdom. And then for those of you who really would like to see how this is coming through, and the more futuristic part of the forecast, then please do even watch this in chunks, come back to it and ruminate on it, or just watch what you want to. And just, I'm still setting up this channel, so I will get better at putting things like timestamps and things in as time unfolds. At the moment is a very busy time of year in the global north. So for now, I'd just like to situate us in this post-eclipse period, because I think that a lot of people went through what could be called a death process. And a lot of people are feeling like there's a new self, or a new essence of the self, that has deeply departed from old vestiges and old prototypes that no longer stand. And as such, quite a lot of us are feeling like we don't want to go to certain things where we might get typecast as the historical being that showed up. And of course, what I want to say is, on a spiritual level, any interface we're really having with any person is always a fictitious entity anyway. But there's certainly a sense that people are feeling that they're moving on from something. And a lot of people felt that the Mercury retrograde was pretty brutal as well. But that was also because of the Parivartana yogas that were taking place with Mars and Mercury, and other things that I spoke of in recent transmissions. So I'm not going to go into that, but I just wanted to say, I think that we're all in a big decompression from that period, and something new is rebooting. And I've spoken in the last few transmissions about the Guru Chandal Yoga, about this new pioneering energy that's coming through. And there will be some who go on the greedy path and try to prototype or launch things too quickly and possibly become, well, they could just create karma for themselves and look a little bit stupid. And then there are the spiritual components of the Guru Chandal Yoga that can help everybody to expand spiritually. So I do think that those people who are versed in charting the body and the somatics of things will be really feeling that they're in this massive review, or not even a review. The review has taken place in many ways, but in an update and an upgrade, but that it's not fully there. And I'm going to speak about that quite a lot in this particular transmission. Something that a lot of people are experiencing is waves of tiredness. And I just wanted to speak to that, because I know some people are wondering, are they coping? What is this? And I think that some of this is to do with the energy that's coming in non-dual astrology in the coming months. And we're already starting to come into this. Mars is debilitated, and Mars is our drive. And Mars is now sitting in, and this is in Vedic astrology. I'm going to be talking about that later, but Mars is not in where its deepest drive is, and it's actually causing us to have a different Mars medicine, which we'll go into later. Also, because of the energies, we're fulfilling very soon this year of self-existing moon energy, which is a lot about deep self-remembrance. And as such, many people are moving through deep childhood traumas. ancestral wounding. And so if you think of how that manifests in the collective field, there can be a density as collectively we're being called upon to look on these things. So that can often mean that the field feels quite dense. And it's also something to do with this reclamation of the yin. We've had this very deep patriarchal time where we have these outmoded institutions. And the last eclipse was really bringing a new sense of sacred rebellion, to finding our voices, to walking away from the grasp or the over domination of certain of those systems and structures. And actually, if we really want to embody that, we have to become somebody who's more yin. So being caused to rest, needing to withdraw, all of these things are actually a very potent reclamation in terms of the tantra of honoring the masculine and feminine that each of us hold. It's all very, very good to say, yes, I do not recognize these institutions. I see this decaying colonial system that is around us. But if we are not actually embodying that by resting, by contemplating, then we're going to find we are not actually mirroring the shift we want to be. Okay. So yeah, so just it's really important to think about that. And if you are feeling tired at the moment, just know that there are many markers to this in the astrology. But it's also, I do think it's really about letting yourself go into a process of remembrance ahead of a deeper state of timelessness we're going to be coming into from July, which I will talk about in the July transmission. So we are indeed taking these baby steps towards a revolution beyond any of the patriarchal qualities, values, institutions that no longer serve. And this is going to take place also in our interpersonal realms a lot this month of June. So in this overview, I'm going to be talking about all of these things, and I'll look a little bit at general astrology. I will then look at the dream spell calendar, the wave spells that we're in, the sacred calendar, and the trisenas that we're in. And these are both 13-day cycles that we go through. So we have several of those in a month. And then I'm going to look at Vedic astrology and what's up for the month of June. And finally, I'm going to offer a synthesis of what happens when we combine these systems, which is where I feel there's a lot of wealth in offering a non-dual astrology reading. I'm not going to go into the massive descriptions that I do. I'm just going to let you read this. And we will be having a series of interviews with different astrologers in the coming months to help you place yourself more in this concept of non-dual astrology. In this time where truth is being questioned and we're realizing the unreliability of many sources of knowledge creation or news outlets, things like that, it's really important that we try to be more responsible. We try to open our possibilities to seeing things from a wider framework. I believe we're in a beautiful, beautiful growth period for that. And that's why this channel is here. So if you'd like to be on this journey, we're mindful that this is probably a new concept to you because it's a new concept as a form of astrology. But please do stick around. Please like, subscribe, because we're here, and not just me, but many different astrologers are coming together to bring wisdom together to help you to understand this changing terrain, which can hopefully help to bring us to liberation and to a higher stage of consciousness. So, as I said earlier, Mercury is now direct, and a lot of you already know that. But I think for many people, there was a mass whoop of and a sigh of relief that we didn't have certain chaoses and confusions in the workplace with others, with things collapsing. It was a very necessary review, but because it had that Mars energy around it as well, it was pretty fiery and pretty chaotic at times. Now, I am here speaking of Vedic astrology, but what I want to say is in general astrology, no matter how we look at it, Venus and Mars are pretty close together in the month of June. And in Vedic astrology, they're sitting together in Cancer for the whole month of June, pretty much. And they won't be the same in Western astrology, but they're very close. So that energy also yields things. We also have Saturn going retrograde from the 17th of June, and then we have solstice on the 21st of June. So there's a whole new energy kicking in second part of the month. In the Dreamspell calendar, we are coming into the mirror wave spell at the very end of May, and we finish that on the 12th of June. And of course, mirror is indeed about cosmic mirroring. It's got an interpersonal component to it. And how wonderful that we are in Gemini. We come into Gemini. Well, we're in Gemini in Western astrology, and we're coming into Gemini in Vedic astrology. And that is amazing, because it's going to really help people. It has that interpersonal element. You know, Gemini's very communicative. It is two people. And this is a real sense that I get about the month of June that shows up with all the astrologies in different ways. And how can I say this? I feel that this deep, deep death process that we've been in, that is not complete yet, that's causing a big rethink and a reshuffle. As we shift who we are, and as hopefully we become less informed by our karma and more motivated by our dharma, we will be finding that we need to be in different soul groupings and ecosystems. And this mechanism really started to play out during COVID time. People were forced to be indoors and forced to rethink certain relationships, where they work and where they're not. And now it's almost like the unveiling of the new me is coming out for a lot of people. And as such, what we need, because we are social creatures, is we need the validation of that shift to come into our environment. And so there's a sense of small regroupings taking place. Before, you know, we've been working through a lot of karmic relationships, things that don't work, don't serve, the trials and tribulations of our ancestors. And this is very potent in this year of self-remembrance. Look at all these relationships that were predicated on misery and making other people miserable, rather than stepping forth into a grand new world together. So this mirror wave spell that we're coming into is bringing up a possibility to preen ourselves, to tweak this new us that is being unveiled. And the universe is going to bring us certain meaningful interactions to help us to make a status update as to, where am I on my process? Am I still getting triggered by these things? What is this person here to teach me? But I really feel, given some of the signs that I'm seeing, that this is also about this new paradigm, this kind of Aquarian age that we're stepping into, of new social relations. And the best way to start that is to start small. You know, if you're somebody who's a practitioner, you don't start teaching groups of 30 people immediately, unless you're possibly a little bit unreliable, or it's a certain sort of classroom environment. But, you know, when we start, it's good to start small, to gauge your relationships. And I feel that we're being given the month of June to look, to kind of dance with who's showing up, and to actually have a meaningful pilot with that. And we're going to see more of that in the other astrology that comes through. On the 13th of June, we come into the monkey wave spell. And this again is beautiful. It's signifying interpersonal growth and a sigh of relief to some extent about the depth of work we just did, because the monkey is a trickster, it's playful, it's quite creative. And as this joyful, playful, connected being with the inner child, there's a sense of remembering to be lighthearted, remembering that we're not supposed to be carrying shackles of the past, and to give ourselves time for joy. So that's a really amazing thing after the work that many people have had to do recently. Now, also, I want to speak of the fact that we are in the Shushumna, in the central channel in the Galactic Mayan calendar. So this is a picture that's not full, but basically this is the days. And here, right when we're giving this presentation right now, we're currently in a lot of gap days here. So these black bits are called galactic activation portal days. And these are when we have a profound thinning of the veil between the different realms in order to do clearing. Or if people are born in those days, they may find that quantum work is quite easy for them. And when we come into the monkey wave spell, actually before that, but here is the monkey. This is number 1 monkey day, which this year is on the 13th of June. That is the center of what we would call the planetary Kundalini energy. In Kundalini philosophy, we have the left and right channel, the Ida and the Pingala, and then the central channel is the Sushumna, which is actually a very sacred gateway for refined energy and for the Kundalini to rise and fall. It's actually a gateway to our higher consciousness. It's a gateway to the Siddhis, to our higher realized powers. And it's a gateway to transcendental being. And so in June, we have this, we're in the central channel from early June. And then on the 13th, we come into the very center point of this full astrological axis. So that's pretty amazing because in many ways, we work to that point where we're almost the new sacred divine child is reborn. So there's something of a lightening of the load that's taking place. And this is certainly up for people right now. And a lot of people are still going into the deep work. But please do find some time to have joy in your life when we come into the monkey wave spell, because it is a profound gateway to liberation, not just for ourselves, but all sentient beings. Because the monkey, when we look at it in the Mayan context, it's the weaver of time. So if we can choose to be free and joyful and liberated, we can also help to liberate for the children to come. We can help to not be a being who is totally pummeled by heaviness and burden. And then we come into the seed wave spell, which kicks in at the 26th of June and comes until the 8th of July. And this is very much about new energies coming forth to gestate, in many ways, to just gestate abundance for our communities, for helping to create a pioneering energy. It's almost like whatever we're piloting now in these small formations of soul groupings, it's like a quantum seed to lead us to a larger, more societal reboot of our ecosystems, because ultimately the human being in this present time is very disconnected from natural ecosystems. Most people are. And if we can start to find the right resonance and the right affinity, is this person showing up in my local habitat? Is there a reason why we're amazing at fulfilling a certain function together? Is it helping the whole larger habitat? All of these things, and finding those points of resonance and difference and how they work together. This is actually the template for the new societies, the new earth that we may speak of. And we have to start in these small little pods of awareness in order for it to become bigger. I think that often the ego causes people to think of these massively epic ideas. And that's usually because of our imbalances in our lower triangle, in our lower chakras. If we can actually gestate something potent and poignant, which is happening just after solstice, then we have this beautiful solar energy in a way, helping, especially in the global north, to help that to grow into a beautiful, beautiful thing. In the sacred calendar, now what's interesting is when we look at the Mayan calendar and the Dreamspell calendar, there's a sacred dance that they do. So we have a Dreamspell wave spell of 13 days, and then around 6 weeks later, the same energy, but in its Mayan format, comes through. So we still have transformational energy coming through, because we now have Kameh, the death energy, which is all about sacred transitions, from the 24th of May to the 5th of June. So this is this new unveiling of transformation. It's like an upgraded template from what we were going through in the eclipse period. It's like the post-eclipse transformation, yeah? And then we come into Kawok, and Kawok as like a purge of rain. It's also a transitional work. So we have two very transitional Trisenas back to back. So it's not like the job is still complete. And this is why I invite people and encourage people not to unveil everything yet. That is greed, that is ego. When people are like, yeah, I'm going to tell the whole world about this. There's still more transformation energy coming. And this is Mark Elmy, my teacher in this system, says that the Kawok energy is clearing the way for new life to enter, rebirthing. Okay. So all that hard work we were doing over the eclipse, there's still clearing taking place. And this is beautifully lined up with the year lords in the Dreamspell calendar, which we're going to look at more deeply next month. So this is why I invite you to have these small formations where you could be like trying out the new you, but not, it's like a baby trying to go to university. It's like, don't go to university yet when you're still being reborn, because you're not going to be able to cope with the energies. And this is very much the caution that we have to give in Guru Chandal Yoga when Rahu and Jupiter are conjunct, which they are until November. And this energy is going to be peaking in June. So yeah, so there's something really pioneering coming through, which I've spoken about for the last couple of months. This new pioneering quantum energy, new healing abilities, new things. But it's still ongoing. And so don't peak too early. It's so important. And then we have on the 19th of June, so just before solstice, we have Ech, which is almost like the road, the path. This is the new path begins. And as such, this is beautiful because it's really, we're in the post-eclipse period now, because the eclipse has a shadow. So now the energies of the eclipse have been embodied and realized and worked through. And so it really feels like there's a big marker coming around solstice, which I'm going to share about now as well. So, as I said, this Guru Chandal Yoga, this Jupiter Rahu conjunction that we're in for a lot of this year, it actually peaks on the 2nd of June. And what I want to say is I have had, an amazing amount of new opportunities recently. We've been piloting some really cutting edge quantum work. And I'm really grateful because a lot of what I'm pioneering is with a Sangha that I'm part of. And therefore, we're all working, always trying to work on the ego, and there's still more work to do. But I'm quite glad that we're doing it kind of behind the scenes. We're not going live with the bigger part of it, even though it's something that we've been working on for a lot of time combined. And I'm really seeing that that's coming to a crescendo. So a lot of you may be feeling like all these new innovations, these ideas are coming. So that energy really peaks on the 2nd of June. The full conjunction is on that day. And then we still have Guru Chandal Yoga till November. It's going to come, the Ashwini energy is diminishing soon. And I will speak of that soon. So we've had this speedy energy. And I think so many people are going, wow, there's such a quickening. It's good. But sometimes I feel like I can't hold on to my flying carpet. And Ashwini is a nakshatra that both Rahu and Jupiter are in. It's the beginning of the zodiac, and it's twins in a chariot. So they're racing forward, and sometimes it's a little bit too expedient. And that's why people can make errors when they're too speedy. But it also has this beautiful healing energy. So that's why a lot of people are having big healings at the moment, big upgrades, big downloads about quantum innovation, about new healing techniques, things like that. And actually, just to go to the bottom of this page, this slide, Jupiter is going to go into Bhairani, which is a different nakshatra, from the 21st. So exactly on solstice, Jupiter's going into Bhairani. Bhairani is the star of restraint. It is symbolized by a vulva. And it's very much about birthing, and also that understanding that birth is a fierce, tremendous force. Bhairani has a kind of violent energy to it. And part of its cultivation is to learn when to be restrained. Some people would say it's like how to be around a really hyper kid and how to stay restrained with them so that you don't tell them off. You keep you you keep your cool with them, okay? And so there's still a little bit of this possible delusional energy with, because Rahu and Jupiter are still conjunct. Again, that people are going to want to birth things rather than restraining and using the birth for the perfect moment. But people are going to be birthing new ideas, bringing things forth. This Ashwini energy that's brought these divine sparks of awareness, it's now coming into a deeper phase of birth. But we also, if we really want to take the energy of Bhairani properly, we have to understand when we restrain and when we utilize the almost violent, magnificent birth energy, okay? And of course, Bhairani is also dancing with this concept of life and death. It's with life comes death. So Bhairani energy understands cycles of life and death. It understands that this is always taking place. So yeah, so there is that whole concept again of what is dying to create the new birth. Okay. So yeah, a lot of energy coming. But what I would say, and will be saying in a minute, is that it's almost like the beginning of the month is more yin and the end of the month is more yang. And we see this again with Mars. Mars in Vedic astrology is debilitated in Cancer until the 1st of July. And when planets are debilitated, they're not, they're in the opposite of in their full strength. And as such, depending on the calculations we're doing, it may mean that it's not yielding many results. Now, Mars is sitting in Cancer, and Cancer, as we know, is quite emotional, it's quite nurturing. And Mars debilitation is not seen as defunct of energy as other planets may be when they're debilitated. And Mars's energy usually gets deployed. Mars is this fiery doer action energy, and now it's coming into this watery Cancerian energy. So that's not necessarily the easiest, most comfortable thing, but in a way Mars is bringing a fire to our nurturing energy. It's bringing fire to our emotional energy, and it's also meeting Venus there. Okay, so Venus is a little bit stronger as such because Mars is debilitated, but Mars is seen to bring us a more emotional property when we have our Mars there. And this is this whole thing. I think that we've had this kind of death process, and then it's this beautiful way of talking to other people about what's going on and honoring interpersonal relationships. And this is really mirrored in the mirror wave spell, is do have that sacred coupling, do talk to other people, do share. And also to make sure that you are nurturing yourself. For the first part of the month, Mars is in the more nurturing energies of Punavasu and Pusha, and then is going to go into a deeper energy from the 9th. So, and that is very karmic, I feel. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Venus-Mars conjunct can mean it's passionate activation. And this passionate activation is taking place in this emotional house. So I feel that this is also part of this collective healing in this year of self-remembrance. It's a really good time to go and get talking therapy, to talk for your ancestors, to talk about and clear and acknowledge childhood wounds. It's a really good time for talking therapy and therapy, because there's almost like a divine union that can sometimes be a bit passionate and a bit unbalanced. But in a way, Venus is also there, and Venus likes self-care, and Venus likes nurturing, and Venus doesn't want to work too hard. It really feels like the windows, particularly in the first days of the month, is a lot about checking in with people, holding space for one another, getting that therapy you've wanted, whatever. And what I want to say is the portal for that, this is a beautiful portal for this, but we've also, this is the energy I see that's up until the end of July, is these dyads that we can have with each other, where we're interacting and almost mirroring to bring deeper meaning into things. So where you may have felt like you're sensitive, you're reforming, a part of you has died, now really do see how you can do that. And this is also, again, this nod to people needing quite a bit of rest at the moment, and honoring the need for yin time, because even Mars is packaged in a more yin emotional way right now. So know that the universe has your back to do that, and that this sacred meeting of Venus and Mars is there to make you passionate about this yin way that we all have. And this is like a template for springboarding into the next galactic year, which starts at the end of July. And the year Lord as well, this year is the moon, which is yin energy. And this is this whole reclamation of being able to say, I can't do that deadline. That's just simply too much for my health right now. And not doing that from a self-cherishing way, which a lot of people do, but to really be able to understand what the body is telling you about that's too much. Not your mind, your ego is telling you because you'd rather watch Netflix, but actually I'm learning to understand and drop into my body to understand the place that I've got to be in. Why is this important? So this is important because, as I've mentioned earlier, we're starting this sacred regrouping. And within this sacred regrouping, we need to be able to listen to our body to tell us a sacred no. Sacred no is just as much as an enthusiastic yes. And we've been conditioned not to be able to say no to things. If we learn that sacred no doesn't mean that anybody's got to take anything personally, that there's, we understand there's no drama, this is going to really, really help us, because there's going to be more and more of this needed in the regrouping of our ecosystems. So these slow, small steps of mirroring are going to be very, very important. Now, Mars comes into Ashlesha on the 9th of June. And the bit that I want to talk about right now, which is in this top right picture, this is Ashlesha, and you can't see it very well, but it's a coiled serpent. This is one of the symbols of Ashlesha, and really this is, again, aligning with this work we have to do with our emotional afflictions, with the epigenetic inheritances that we've had, with our wounding. And this beautiful portal, because Ashlesha I really see as one of the windows to genetic healing. So by rewiring with utilizing Mars in Ashlesha, Mars, you can use Mars's drive to actually look at your emotions, to look at what you've inherited. In internal family systems, we call this legacy burdens. You can look at why do I overreact in these situations? Why do I do this thing? And actually, Mars is going to give you a deeper drive to work with that, okay? To work with your emotions. And Venus is there helping you to do that too. And Venus and Mars both are in Ashlesha from the 19th to the 29th. So I do really feel that there's a really deep sense of utilizing, okay, so in a way, so basically Ashlesha energy is really connected to the Nagas, who are like demigods, who are half serpent, half human. And I could talk a lot more about serpent energy, but Naga energy and the Ashlesha energy has a deep shamanic component to it. And often Ashlesha people will not, sometimes they don't see that they can be wielding quite a lot of poison, that they have a lot of strength in the healing process and in what they present. And sometimes that can be too strong for others. But with Venus and Mars there, I do really think that it's a deeply shamanic time on the planet for us to work through something quite big. And for me, it's coming to the end. You see, we've only got 1 month left in the Dreamspell calendar of the year Lord, and so this portal of self-remembering is coming in different flavors every 2 or 3 weeks, and this is the way we need to look at it now. We then have Saturn going into retrograde from the 17th in Aquarius, and we're really looking, this is again, Aquarius is about new society, pioneering ideas. It's going against the grain of the normal society. It's quite, it's quite alternative, anti-authoritarian. And so that, what that means for each of us is of course going to be different depending on where Saturn is placed, as with all of the astrology we've mentioned here. But we're going to be in a rethink, and that's going to last for several months. So this pioneering energy, this is like how would I say? This is like a block of assessment energy, karmic energy that's coming here, where we've had this beautiful spark through the Guru Chandal Yoga that peaks on the 2nd. And then Saturn is like, okay, how is that really going to fit into the New Earth timeline, the golden age, the age of Aquarius? Let's really go through, let's slow down now, okay? And it's also sitting in aspect to Rahu and Jupiter. So it's saying, we see your insights, but you still have to work with your karma. You still have to work with all of this stuff. You cannot set up this new age until you've done your root work. And this is what we keep saying. We keep seeing people proclaiming themselves to be this and that, really highly realized, or trying to ask for a lot of money for things when they actually haven't really done their deep karmic work. So this is where we're again going to see these young, bright-eyed people with talking about their offerings that they haven't grounded yet. And so this mechanism of Saturn going into Aquarius is so beautiful and so timely, because it's a mechanism to help us retrospect, to do our karmic work. It is the master of time saying, okay, now look at your failing societies. Look at this. Look at what those taught you in the past. What are the teachings? Now you're seeing this brave new world. Now look at what is decaying. Look at what's decaying in your old world and finish that off before, don't take that heavy, dense crap with you into the next time. So how amazing is that? And it's almost like kissing the Bhairani nakshatra. It's providing the restraint to Bhairani for those who see the signs, okay? So a little synthesis here. What can we say that we have in correlation here? Well, we're really deeply in this possibility of genetic rewiring and self-remembrance. In the early part of the month, our sensitivities are heightened for these yin states and for this interpersonal work and for this cosmic mirroring, these small soul formations. And there's a very big key of acknowledging each other's wounds, acknowledging the shifts we're going through, acknowledging the other, mirroring an acknowledgement, moving through conflict by really active listening for other people. And what we see is that in all of these systems, we see that the 17th, the 19th, the 21st are all really quite big markers. So that time of the month, right on solstice, is really big for these converging energies that then go into this deeper birth, but review at the same time. And I think that that's when, you know, we're into the review period of finalizing this galactic year and into a deeper collective clearing where, you know, the midwife energy is stronger, the storm energy is stronger. This energy to get as much possible out of this year of self-remembrance on a personal level, that's going to amp up so that we get the teachings before we go into the next year at the end of July. So there's going to be a more yang iteration of transformation again from approximately the 19th, but not quite so much the eclipse. It's like an echo from the eclipse is then, you know, sometimes we've, you know, when we don't have mindfulness over something, there's a limitation to the clearing we can do. we've now had this period of, we're introspecting, we're seeing we're being reborn, that we're having a different relation to everything. And then we come into this deeper period where, yes, now I see what I have to do, where we're not just in it. Okay. Something I also wanted to speak on, and especially because Saturn is going to go retrograde in Shatabishak, is that Saturn is with for this year and for a chunk of next year, Saturn is in Shatabishak, which is a nakshatra which is called, it's got many names, but one of them is the 100 light workers, the 100 healers, the 100 physicians. And it's a transformative energy, but it's not extroverted. It's a hermit-like energy. And with Saturn there reviewing some of our karma and slowing things down, causing us to have a rethink, it's already in Shatabishak, but I think that people may find this need to withdraw sometimes and to actually even go sometimes horizontal just because it's the only place that they will receive. Because this is this whole emphasis that we've had with this Guru Chandal Yoga starting off in Ashwini, this healer energy. Shatabishak is also this amazingly forward-thinking, healing energy to link us into transcendence. But it does it often in isolation. It's got a deep connection with astrology and other things, and ways of healing self and healing others and healing communities. But yeah, you may find that during this period of time that sometimes you do need to be more inner this year than you have been in the past, and that's because Saturn wants you to be there. Ultimately, this month is definitely very much about this trying out this new template of being. But give yourself chance to keep remolding, regrowing, contemplating, observing, because then it means you're more mindful and it will be a more fruitful journey for you. And just really understand and honor the sacred mirroring of what's coming in for you as a status report, of where you need to go to, how well you're doing with your afflictions, and what you need to deploy to help you overcome more. And just to say, Dharma stars are around. We are definitely around. We're quite busy in June, but we do have some of our international team around. If you would benefit from some talking therapy or from some trauma-assisted work, we've just released a series of packages, and we also have singular cost price, really low price sessions available for people who may need them. We have quite a lot of our practitioners have graduated in certain healing modalities. And so we invite you to get in touch. Depending on your budget, we have something to suit you. We're really in service to this portal of self-remembrance. And it's really beautiful. It was just about a month ago we drew everything up. And now I really see how deep the portal is now, for just if people need those tools to just tweak, so that by the end of July, they've really made the most of this portal of self-remembrance. We are around to help. So there's our website there. Thank you so much for listening. Please do tell your friends about this channel if it's helpful for you. I'm going to be doing a lot more interviews soon. I'm lining up some amazing things for the autumn. And I'll continue to try to do bi-monthly transmissions. And yeah, looking forward to stepping into the golden age. We are on an amazing countdown together, and we really do have many of the codes and keys for our awakening. So gratitude for listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Ciao, ciao.